Hello everyone. So this is our fourth topic, which is transportation of substances across cell membrane. So in this, already we have discussed about what is cell, organelles of the cell, the division of cell, cell cycle, everything. So in this topic, we are going to see how substances are transported from in and out of the cell. So transportation of substances across cell membrane. The structure of plasma membrane provides it with the property of selective permeability, which means it allows only selective materials to pass through it. So here the plasma membrane, that is a cell membrane, it provides the cell with a property called selective permeability, which means only selective materials can pass in and out of the cell. That process is called selective permeability. And again, passive transport occurs when the substances can cross the semi-permeable plasma and organelle membranes and down the concentration gradient downhill without using energy. So passive transport means where the oxygen concentration is high, it is being transported from there to the oxygen low concentration. Where the oxygen concentration is low. For example, in a hill, we can see the water is coming from up the hill, from there to down the hill where the water is low without using any energy. So downhill. So by that process, this semi-permeable membrane, it also transfers substances from the where the oxygen concentration is high, from there to oxygen concentration low, where the oxygen not only oxygen, what are the things which is being concentrated, concentration is very low, that the substance is being transferred. It occurs mainly by diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and osmosis. So these are the three things by which the passive transportation occurs. So first we are going to discuss about diffusion. Diffusion refers to the movement of molecules from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration and occurs mainly in gases, liquids, and solutions. So these are the three things where the diffusion occurs. So from the higher concentration to area of lower concentration. Diffusion can also occur across a semi-permeable membrane such as the plasma membrane or the capillary wall. So it can occur the plasma membrane, the cell outer layer is called the plasma membrane, from there, or the capillary wall. So the blood is being transported to all the parts of the body by the blood vessels, mainly the veins, capillaries, etc. So there the capillaries, in the wall also diffusion takes place. Only small molecules are soluble enough to cross the membrane can diffuse through. So what are the things that can cross the small molecules or the solid which is easily soluble? That things can cross the semi-permeable membrane. For example, oxygen diffuses freely through the walls of alveoli where the oxygen concentration is high into bloodstream where the oxygen concentration are low. So you have already seen that when we are breathing in, we're taking in oxygen, so automatically the oxygen concentration, the end of the lungs is called the alveoli. So the oxygen concentration automatically more in the lungs. So it is being transported where the oxygen concentration low. So the alveolus is surrounded by the blood vessels and capillaries and capillary wall. So the oxygen concentration are low because the lungs is the one which is also the one which helps in the purification of blood. So the oxygen concentration is low. So automatically from this alveoli where the oxygen concentration is high, it automatically transfer oxygen to the bloodstream where the oxygen concentrations are low. So diffusion, however, blood cells and large protein molecules in the plasma too large to cross, and so they remain in the blood. So this is a semi-permeable membrane. These are the larger molecules, so it cannot cross through the semi-permeable membrane. So it is being reminded here. But the smaller molecules can go in and out of the semi-permeable membrane. So this is a semi-permeable membrane. So this is the head, the tail, phospholipid layer. So you have already seen about this. So diffusion takes place in it. Next is the osmosis. Osmosis refers specifically to the diffusion of water down in concentration gradient. The force in which it occurs is called osmotic pressure. So in osmosis specifically, diffusion of water, it occurs from the higher concentration to lower concentration and the pressure is being maintained, is called the osmotic pressure. In this only diffusion of water, in osmosis diffusion of water is being taken place. So osmosis proceeds until equilibrium is reached. So when the osmosis being stopped, So when the osmosis until equilibrium is both the side the pressure should be the osmosis, the concentration should be equal. So till that time the osmosis is being taken place, at which point the solution on one side of the membrane or of same concentration, it's said to be isotonic. For example, see here in this high water concentration here, low water concentration is there. So the osmotic pressure is being taking place from high concentration to lower concentration. So equal amount of water is being spreaded here. So you can see this solution is called as the isotonic solution. So in basically there are three main solutions are there: isotonic, hypertonic and hypotonic. So this is isotonic, which means both the sides equal concentrations are being maintained. That is called isotonic. So next we can see about hypotonic and hypertonic. Plasma osmolarity is maintained within a narrow range because if the plasma water concentration rises, that is, the plasma becomes more dilute than the intracellular fluid within the red blood cells, then the water will move down its concentration gradient across the membrane and into the red blood cells. This may cause the red blood cells to swell and burst. In this situation, the plasma is said to be hypotonic. In hypotonic solution, what happens is the plasma water concentration is high. Okay, we have already seen that plasma. What is plasma? In blood, it consists of plasma and the blood cells. So plasma mainly contains water, but more than that water, if the water concentration is too much, it is already higher in water concentration in the plasma. What happens? The red blood cells, the intracellular fluids and the red blood cells, it also in blood plasma, not only plasma is there, the red blood cells are there, intracellular fluid, everything is there, no? So water automatically, what they thinks, the plasma water concentration is more, means it sees that the red blood cells water concentration is less, and automatically water from the plasma, it moves down to the red blood cells. And until when this process being stopped, till both of them, until the concentration is reached, it is being stopped. At that time only the transportation of water from the plasma to the red blood cells is being stopped. By that time, what happens? The water concentration becomes more, and the red blood cells to swell, and it becomes bursted, because the water concentration is so much. So only a little amount of water, whatsoever amount of water can be holded in the red blood cells, they can hold. More than that, it caused the red blood cell to swell and burst. But in this situation, the plasma is said to be what solution? Hypotonic solution. When the water concentration is more, it is said to be hypotonic solution. If the plasma water concentration falls, so that the plasma becomes more concentrated than the intracellular fluid within the red blood cells, and the plasma become hypertonic. So in this situation, hypertonic solution, the concentration, that means the water level is less, but the more water concentrated than the intracellular fluid. The intracellular fluid and the red blood cells are being, water concentration is high. What happens? The blood cells which contains water, it is being transferred to the plasma where the water concentration is low, and in this situation the plasma is said to be hypertonic, and water, what happens? Passively moves by osmosis from the blood cells into the plasma. What happens? Automatically the water is moving from the blood cells to the plasma, means the blood cells become shrink, and they becomes very shrink. So this is a clear explanation. Solute, it means a particle, usually a salt. Solvent, liquid, usually water, it is called as solvent. So isotonic means equal solute, equal solvent. Okay, this is both concentration. Why I am insisting more on this is because when you are going to bedside, you need to know about this. So for what patient, what type of solution should be administered, then only the patient life will be saved. If it is being replaced by, if the patient needs isotonic and you are giving hypotonic solution, then the patient life will be in fatal. So that's why I'm insisting you more. So equal solute and solvent ratio are equal. For example, it is 0.9% NS. It's the example. When you going to a bedside, you will see come across so many solutions. I'm just giving one example, which is isotonic solution. Hypotonic, where the water concentration is high, is on water concentration in that low solute, usually salt is being low and the water concentration is high, that is example is 0.45 percentage NS. So hypertonic solution, high solute salt, so the salt is usually high and low solvent, water is low, this is 5 percentage TNS. So this is a easy example. Isotonic, what I told, both the concentration will become equal, so the blood cells is being normal and the plasma is also normal. When the hypotonic solution, the water is being transported more because the plasma contains more water and the water is being transported to the red blood cells, thinking that the red blood cells needs more water. And what happens, one point of time the red blood cells burst and they release all the water content which is being presented inside the red blood cells. In hypertonic solution, what happens, this water concentration is normal in red blood cells and the plasma concentration is low. So what happens, the cell thinks that the plasma needs water and it gives all the water to the plasma, and finally the red blood cells become shrink. So with an example, if we see for a patient, for what happens in patient, so for what patient, what type of solutions should be given. This one example I have taken from each of them. A patient is having +3 pitting edema. Edema means the water which is being filled in tissues. You have seen, so +3 is a grade which is for a pitting edema. So we have seen so many old age people or the patient who are bedridden, we have seen this edema. So they have a bunch of solvent in their tissues which should get back to their veins and then excreted out. So solvent in the sense water, so much of water is being present in their tissues, so it should get back to the veins, then only the leg will be okay, the edema will be going out. You do this by giving a hypertonic solution. What should we give? Hypertonic solution. Hypertonic solution means high amount of solvent, that is the salt is high and the water is low because the patient is already having so much of water in them. So if you are giving more water, then the patient will die. So we should give only hypertonic solution for patient with edema because the water concentration is low in it, but a high amount of salt is present in it, because the concentration of solute is higher in the vein and the solvent is higher outside the vein, because water is more outside the vein but it is less inside the vein. So by giving, what happens, I told it is containing large amount of solvent solute in it, that means the salt is more in hypertonic solution, so the water automatically comes from the tissues to inside the vein, so the equilibrium is maintained. So by giving a hypertonic solution which contains high solute and low solvent, it creates an osmotic pressure, it pulls out the water from the tissues into the veins and creates an equal ratio of solute and solvent. So this is a equilibrium is maintained now by giving a hypertonic solutions. So for dehydrated patients, we give an isotonic solution because we want to expand the volume of blood, but we don't want the solvent to move out of the vein or to the tissues. So isotonic means equal amount of salt and water. For dehydrated, for patients with vomiting or loose motion or diarrhea or whatever may be it, we give isotonic solution because we just want to expand the volume, water of the volume and the solute volume. We don't want the solvent to move in and out of the vein because the patient already stable, but we need more amount of the patient want to be stable. So for that patients we will be giving isotonic solutions. So hypotonic solutions have lower concentration of electrolytes than plasma. In this, the water concentration is high and the electrolyte concentration, the salt concentration is low. This is given for the patient with diabetic ketoacidosis. So the intracellular space become dehydrated and the cell will be shrunk. So what happens? The patient needs more water because the cells are being shrunk. So by administering hypertonic solution, the water moves from higher concentration to the lower concentration, the cell will be rehydrated. So in this hypertonic, what happens? The cell, the plasma, it needs more amount of water. So water is going in from inside the cell to outside the cell, so the equilibrium is maintained. In isotonic solution, in and out of the cell, it is being going, the fluid is maintained, so the equilibrium is maintained. In hypotonic solution, what happens? The cell needs water because the cell has been shrunk, no? So the water is going from the plasma to the red blood, the cells, so the equilibrium is maintained. So these are the examples with osmosis. So facilitated diffusion. This passive process is used by some substances that are unable to diffuse through semi-permeable membrane unaided. So without any help, so unaided, without any help, some substances need to be passed through. So that substances like glucose, amino acids, it should be transported by facilitated diffusion. Specialized protein carrier molecules in the membrane have specific sites that attract and bind substances to be transferred like a lock and key mechanism. In this carrier, the specific site is that if a cell is being present, there are so many sites are there. In that site only the specialized protein should attach them. For each lock there is a key, no? So like that, the lock is the site, so key is the protein, so it is attached to the specific lock and it should go out of the cell. So that is by facilitated diffusion. The carrier then change its shape and deposits the substances across the to the other side of the membrane. If you see the next slide, you will understand it. So see, this is a carrier protein. This is the one, this is specific site. If a cell want to go, it should come in. This will change its size and shape, and it will take the solute to the other part of the cell. So the carrier site are specific and can be used by only one substance. So at a time, only one substances, or according to the carrier site, it differs. As a result, there are finite number of carriers. So many carriers are being present. There is a limit to the amount of substances which can be transported at any time. So there is a limit. So at a time, only this much of substance can be passed. So there is a limit for each thing. So the substances being passed through. This is known as the transport maximum. So this process is called as the transport maximum, and this process is also called as facilitated diffusion. All these process types is called facilitated diffusion. Next is the bulk transport. You have already seen in the lysosome. The same thing which you already seen in the lysosome. Transfer of particles too large to cross the membrane occurs by pinocytosis, cell drinking, and phagocytosis, cell eating. So when the particles are too large, so at that time it crosses by pinocytosis, that means cell drinking, or phagocytosis, cell eating. This is the process. We will see what is that. These particles are engulfed by extensions of the cytoplasm, which enclose them, forming a membrane-bound vacuole. So the lysosome, so the particles, what happen? They engulf in a sense, they attract and they just form a layer, they just form a vacuole around them. So by that process, it forms a vacuole. So you can see a food particle, and it forms a vacuole. It can be a fluid-full vacuole or without a fluid or anything. Pinocytosis allows the cell to bring in fluid. So we saw that it's a cell drinking, no? It means the cell which contains fluid in it. So the phagocytosis, the larger particles, the cell fragments or microbes are taken into the cell. In the phagocytosis, what happens? The cell, it can be cell particles or larger food particles or fragments or whatever may be it. So the lysosome releases the vacuole membrane, releasing an enzyme which digests the content. So the lysosome, what happens? The lysosome will release some digesting enzymes. So this both, they will join together, and they form, if the particle is being needed, it can be recycled. If it is not needed, it will break it into small fragments and it will extrude out of the lysosome. So this is what happening in bulk transport. This is how transportation is being taken place. So exocytosis, extrusion of waste materials by reverse process through the plasma membrane is called exocytosis. So the plasma membrane happens between the plasma membrane in and out of the cell. So reverse, both the way it happens. So it is called as the exocytosis. The vesicle formed by Golgi apparatus usually leave the cell in this way, as do any indigestible residue of phagocytosis. If there is any, we saw that what is phagocytosis, cell eating. So at that time, any indigestible residues are being placed. So what happens if these particles are being expelled by the process of exocytosis? So see here, plasma membrane, it is a cell, this is a cell. So plasma membrane, this is a vesicle we saw the food particles or fragments or microbes or something. Vesicle is being formed and it is being transported. It is being moved out. So that is called exocytosis. If out means exo. So it is passed to the intracellular fluid and again it is going into another cell, that is endocytosis. Inside means endo, exo means outside. In this diagram, phagocytosis. So this is the plasma membrane. If a larger particle is coming, it will attract, it will create a vesicle. Pinocytosis is cell drinking. It will attract and it will create some fluid inside in it and it will transport. So receptor mediated endocytosis, that means some receptor site is being present. So if a thing has to be gone out, it will attach to this receptor site, then it will create a vesicle and then it is being transported. So this is exocytosis. So today we discuss what are the transportation, how the cell substance being transported in and outside of the cell. So I have also done this same video in Tamil. So if you want, you can also refer that. And if you want only the slides, you can just visit to my nursing abstract blog site. I am giving a link below this. And kindly post your comments in the comment section. And we'll see in the next topic with a new go on. Thank you so much.